And hello, this is Eamonn O'Brien, and you're very, very welcome to the Reluctant Speakers Club Expert Series. And today we're going to talk about why, as speakers, you need to start your networking before you say a word. And we have a wonderful expert with us today. It is Eamonn Cleary. Eamonn, hello.
How are you, Eamon? Thanks very much for having me on your show.
Great, I'm delighted to have you here. And Eamonn, my goodness, what a CV. You're a blogger, you're a speaker, you're a founder of Razor Social, and in fact, you are known as the source internationally and in Ireland when it comes to tools on the internet.
Yeah, I'm the tools guy, so I focus really on the social media tools and technology side. So that was my niche, or a niche as they call it in the US.
Yes, my mother would call it that too. So
I'm not used to calling it niche, because niche must be a French word. I must look it up. It's not, the Americans took it off us. But yeah, so I focus on the tool side. I found my background is technology and then
yes.
social media, so it made perfect sense to combine the two of them.
Well, that's wonderful. And today what I want to talk about is something that's happened to you a lot in recent times, because as the guy who is the expert on tools, you're getting to speak on a lot of international speaking platforms. And I'm especially interested in your thoughts and opinions about the types of networking that you do before you say a word, in terms of building up noise about what you're doing, and actually even before you actually step up onto a podium.
Okay, yeah, I love speaking. I get such a buzz from speaking. It's challenging but really enjoyable. But one of the things I always assume is that my room will not be packed, so I need to promote it. Now, with tools content, I'm lucky it's popular content, so you'll generally get a good audience. But I always have it in my head, I want it to be packed. I want people
Yes.
on the floor. I want people trying to get in the doors of the place. And what I'm delivering is content. Same as the way I deliver content through a blog, the promotion of the content is as important or more important than the content itself. So I'm giving a talk before the event. I do a lot of promotion. So for example, I actually do custom business cards for every event I talk at. And then I go around, like, show people the business cards, and I invite them to my event. So I say to them, what are you doing at 10:30 this morning? Why don't you come to my event? It's going to be full of practical information. Will you come to my event, Eamon? And most people would say, yeah, why not?
Good for you. That is wonderful. So you have a little preemptive card, and it's here are 3 reasons why you should come and listen to Eamonn this morning.
Exactly. So here's the example of the card, and when you open it up, it'll have details of the talk that's on. I actually put a little poem as well onto the card, and then my details in the back. And there's another card for a separate event that I was doing. So I go around, and last event I did was TBEX, a travel bloggers conference in Cancun.
Yes.
I asked people to put up their hand who got the card, and at least half the audience got my business card before the event. So
I love it.
That really helps pack the room. So I do that. That's one side. The other side is most people are engaged on Twitter. So I schedule a lot of different tweets. So I know the room is going to be busy because I'm doing the promotion. So I know I'll always fill the room because of the promotion and because of the content. So I'll even have a tweet 5 minutes beforehand, which will be going out and saying, the room is really filling up. You'd want to get here quickly.
Oh, wonderful. I love it. And more than that, actually, what's interesting is because you've given people your card a half an hour and a half beforehand, there's a very good chance they'll have checked you out and the tweeting might have already started.
You see, in the US, what I'm competing against is probably about 12 different sessions at one time, and nobody really knows what session to come to. So I'm the only speaker that actually invites them to come to a session. They have the card, they have the details of the session, so lots of them come along because of this. And what I do actually at the very start of the session is I tell a story about when I go to weddings. So this is a true story, and I'll tell you the reason I do it in a minute.
All right.
But basically, when I'm at weddings, I say to people, whatever table I'm at, I say to people, right, after 3, we're going to cheer and applaud and laugh as loud as we can.
Ah, I love that. Yes, yeah, good.
Everybody looks at you at the table and goes, that's the best table. I'm missing all the fun. So what I do at the event is I tell them this story, and then I say to them, listen, would you do me a favor? If I count to 3, can you applaud and cheer as loud as you can? So they all applaud, cheer, go mad, and what happens is the people out in the corridors wonder what's going on and come into my event. People,
Mr. Cleary, I have to tell you that sounds like something that you see in a lot of the busking shows. I don't know if you've seen those busking shows in Dublin, and they say, "Oh, roar over here." I
yeah,
wonder what that guy's doing.
exactly, and it works a treat, you know. And the other thing that really works is because I've met a lot of the people in the audience before the event, then I've less nerves because I'm going up there and I see all the face of people.
Yeah.
They know that I'm friendly and nice, so I've broken the ice because I'll chat to them when I'm giving out the
Yeah.
cards, and I'll smile, and I'll say it's going to be fun. And so when they all come in, they're all happy. They're all prepared to cheer and roar. They smile at me because they've seen me before, and we've built a sort of connection. So now they'll sort of do what I want them to do.
Well, that's excellent. I have to say, Ian, that's wonderful because in the trade, that's known. That's known as the noddies, because when you're chatting with folks now, they've seen you before, they know you a little bit. There's a little bit of rapport, and when you look at them and you smile at them, they're going to look back at you. And really, what happens is they're like a mood ring. So the whole room feels like, oh, this is going to be interesting, much more engaged. Fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, so that works. So other promotion I do, like I said, I do a lot of this stuff on Twitter. So I will keep an eye of the hashtag for the event, and I'll interact with people lots because they'll look you up, they'll see that you're a speaker at the event, and generally on my profile, I'll adjust my profile for a couple of days and saying speaking at TBEX or speaking at Social Media Marketing World or whatever the conference is. So they'll go, oh, this is a speaker interacting with me, and again they're going, he's a friendly guy, he's just chatting to me. I'll answer the questions. They'd say, you know, where's the best place to go when you're there? If I know the answer, I'll answer. So I'll constantly interact, and I'll interact with other speakers. When I'm at conferences, I'm a corridor guy. So I never go into the events. I just hang out in corridors networking with people.
Oh, that's a good idea. And now tell me, I'm very interested though in what happens in terms of how other speakers then react to you, because you're clearly being very sensible and taking preemptive action. Firstly, what kind of reactions do you get from people where you encourage them to come in? And secondly, what do other speakers say to you?
Well, the people that I ask to come in just love it because I'm a speaker, and a speaker is approaching them, and they love meeting speakers. And I chat to them, they say I'm friendly and nice, invite them to come along. And it's very hard for them when they say yes, it's very hard for them not to turn up, you know. So, so the participants love it. The speakers, a funny story, one of the conference organizers was, I was talking with him and a couple other speakers, and he asked one of the speakers, what time are you on at? And the conference organizer says, well, at least you're not on the same time as Ian. So they're getting to know I do this promotion. Now, one other speaker, only recently, he's based in Dublin, I can't think of his name, he'll come back to me, but he started to do cards as well. So more people are starting to do the cards, which is fine. I don't care, because I will come up with something better. I'll do the next. This is like encouragement to do the next thing.
You're right. It's only begun. Well, I love that. I love that. And tell me though, when it comes though to speaking to different audiences, so you know you're speaking in Ireland, you're speaking in the United States, and speaking elsewhere. To what extent do you find that you have to mold your talks in a different way to get a better reaction?
Well, what's funny is I don't speak very often in Ireland. I don't get invited to Ireland. I get invited to speak in the US all the time. But I have focused on the US, so I just focus on the US all the time. I spoke in the UK recently, and I found that the humor, I love humor, and humor just works for me naturally. I know it's a risky thing. I don't do any controversial humor, but I always have some level of humor. I love it. The audience in the US just love it. I think it's because the Irish thing and the Irish accent, and I slag off myself, and I talk about leprechauns and Guinness, and just to warm up the audience. But I had a talk in the UK recently, and I didn't do the same level of stuff, but I found that the humor was much more difficult. They were a much more reserved audience.
Yes.
So I couldn't warm them up quick enough. So, and that was my learning experience, and that is, like I say, it's different audiences I have to tailor, so I had to get used to how the UK audience would react.
Well, I'll give you a quick, for instance, on how that will work a lot better for you, and it really is all about the stories.
Yeah,
Because gags, the problem with gags, and actually this is true universally, whether it's in Ireland, whether it's in America, whether it's the UK, is that your audience is full of people who have different things will make them laugh.
yeah.
So it's very hard to find something that makes everybody laugh. So if you're telling me a story, though, everybody can take something out of it of their own, as opposed to, it's a bit like my missus is wonderful at telling gags, but she'll commonly leave a line out, which is a bit like getting directions from Dublin to Cork
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
finishing up in Belfast because you missed the line. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I have to be careful. Now, it's not particular jokes, I'd say. I might show up a funny picture and I have a little story related to the picture I show. Like, for
yeah,
example, I show a picture of a baby with a pint of Guinness, and they love the Irish thing and they love Guinness. And I say, I know what you're thinking. Babies don't drink Guinness at that age. We only teach them how to hold the Guinness at that age. They don't start drinking until they're 3 or 4, and they enjoy that. So them sort of stories. But
what,
in the
what,
UK, it probably wouldn't work.
yeah. Well, actually, if we could go a bit broader than that, because obviously the entertainment and the fact that people enjoy things is hugely important. But of course, the other element is that when you're speaking with the range of audiences that you do, not everyone is going to have remotely the level of technical knowledge that you do. So how do you make it more accessible, if you like, for people to get what you're talking about?
Well, this is the one good thing that I am able to deliver. So my background is always technology, but I'm always more focused on the business side of it and look at the business results. And I'm good at explaining technical things in a non-technical way. And that's one of the key things that people like. And I never really lose people in the audience. So I'll explain a tool, but I'll explain simply how you work with it and then give a practical example of how you would use it. So, like, even when I'm explaining search engine optimization, I have a very simple example that people go, now I understand it. Whereas, I could have people that know SEO much better than me, but just can't explain it to the business person. So I was always good at that, at training people and presenting technical stuff in a non-technical way.
Yeah, because I think that's a major league challenge, because I think one of the main issues in your space, in fact, for everybody who's online, is there's so much stuff floating out there, and it's very, very hard for any one person to stay on top of it.
Yeah.
And even though you are the tools guy, I suspect there are times when you need help to figure out, well, what's coming in now, is that worth looking at, and what have you. So what do you say to people about not just whether they should be looking at tools, but how they deal better with the overwhelm?
Well, I suppose it's to find relevant people that are filtering out the noise. So you need to find your 3 or 4 go-to people that you go, actually, they're the ones that deliver good, unbiased, relevant information, and just focus on that. Because there's no point in having 100 people in your list of blogs, for example, that you follow, or 100 podcasts, because you just won't keep up with them. So pick out what's really important to you in your business, and then find 3 or 4 people that you can follow and track online. Like I was talking to guys last night about email, and they want to do email marketing, and there's a guy called Noah Kagan, and he has built an email list of 750,000 people. I said,
Wow!
Just follow him around the web, I said. That's all. Just follow him.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So he's based in the US. He has a site called AppSumo, and he said he works on one goal, and that's it. So his only goal initially was build email. So every single day, he said, how many email addresses did we get today? How many do we get tomorrow? And he said the best thing in business if you can focus on just one single thing at a time.
Yeah.
One goal, and that was the only one. So it was just email for him. But if they follow him and just follow exactly what he did and read all his posts and listen to all his videos, they will learn all they need to know about email marketing.
No, that makes a ton of sense. Well, and I know there are other elements that you're a big advocate of, and atop of the list is blogging.
Yeah.
And now, why is that so important to visibility? Now, of course, I'm dealing with people who are speaking and those who'd like to speak more, but why is blogging so important for your credibility and being seen as the go-to person and more?
It's profile, as a blog. I got an email about 2 months ago, and it was from a funeral directors association in Knoxville, in Tennessee, and they said, "We'd love you to come to speak at my event." And I'm thinking, this is an email I got, and they said, "How much will you charge us?" And I charged them quite a big fee, and they said, "No problem." And I went to Knoxville and spoke. The reason is, first of all, I built up my brand online, my personal profile online. I proved that I know what I'm talking about through the blog by writing good, relevant technical content. So they understood there's my niche, and they heard about me through other influential friends in that niche. That was all really related to the blog, because the blog showed that I had credibility in this area. It allowed me to build a network with people, and then it come up with opportunities like the speaking events. I mean, for a speaker, say a speaker, you need to prove your worth. You need to build your audience. So you need to have an audience. So most of these places invite me to speak, like Social Media Marketing World in March in San Diego, and speak.
I'll be there. I'm looking forward to it.
That's brilliant, brilliant. Actually, my next one is Tampa. I'm speaking at a Kim Garst event called Boom Social in Tampa in a couple of weeks in November. And the main reason is because of the blog, and the thing is, I have an audience because of the blog. So when I speak at events, people want to hear you speak. So they know of me. A lot of Kim's audience, a lot of people in the social media world would know of me because it's all the blog.
And so, you're both great examples, I have to say, Ian, of having used blog to great effect.
Yeah, it does. I mean, we generate over 100,000 visitors a month to our blog, and I don't spend any money on it at all. I mean, how much is that going to cost you if you really wanted to generate that? And how much exposure is that on an international level,
But you do some other things, though, Ian. You write really, if you like, much more detailed blog posts, and I know that's something that you're hot on, because the upshot is that people, A, they get more value out of it, but B, from a Google perspective, they're much more likely to find you because, frankly, you're covering a broader spectrum of things, aren't you?
Yeah, that's it. It's like, at the end of the day, search engine optimization is still important, and a lot of it's related to people linking to your content. Well, people will not link to a 300-word post unless it's a work of, it's a masterpiece in 300 words. I can't write masterpiece in 300 words. I don't know about you, Eamonn, but I can't do it. All I can do is go, how much value can I give in a post? And when I'm giving lots of details and practical examples and all sorts, that means I'm giving more value. The more value I give in a post, the more likely people are going to share it and link to it.
Yes.
So,
but you're doing something differently, though, and I'd be interested in your thoughts on this, because, and again, for speakers, when they're thinking about creating content, when I'm writing a blog post, I can tell you my sweet spot tends to be somewhere between about 450 and 800 words, where I'll have a single point and I'll give examples and something to think about. But now you'll take a different tack, because you'll really kind of go the full hog and say, and then consider this, consider this, consider this. So there's much more stuff that you can do on the back of almost any post that you write.
Yeah, I mean, one thing somebody said to me is, if you want to expand your post, think of the words "for example."
I love it. Wonderful. Which applies to speaking anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going, oh, here's the post, and go, okay, I'll put in "for example," and people love examples, and then you can introduce your story. So your post will get a lot longer if you use "for example."
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. Now, just rounding out, if you like, then, because we started this talking about why it's so important to start your networking before you say a word. If you were to give somebody who is new to speaking, who has an expertise where people would like to hear what they say, a few tips, what would be your top maybe 3 things that you say, have a go at this, this will help get people more excited about what you're going to say?
So before they go to the event,
yeah,
I mean, I think the cards work brilliantly, because
I love the cards, and I admit I'm probably going to run out down to Reed's and get myself a bundle of those. I love it.
They work really well. I think interacting online before the event. So I often share tips you know, really useful tips, and I use the hashtag because people going to the event will monitor the hashtag. So if I'm sharing lots of tips related to it, go, oh, this is great. A third one is at times I run a competition. So I let people know there's a competition at the event because people love entering competitions and winning something.
They
So
do.
buzz as well, yeah. Mm.
Wonderful. No, I love that. And then last thing, and this has more to do, I suppose, with your experiences now as a speaker. If there's one thing that you've learned now that maybe you didn't realize at the outset that's been important to the way you connect with people, what's top of your list?
Oh, that's an interesting one, you know. I don't want to keep going on about the cards, but that does give me a chance to meet and connect with people. I did read from Brian Tracy before, is meet as many people as possible in the audience before your event, and that works really well for me. So when people are arriving in, quite often I'll stand at the door and not up at the stage waiting, you know, because up at the stage you're there on your own. I stand at the door, I shake their hands, I welcome them in, I chat to them. It creates a nice atmosphere in the room. So meeting as many people as possible and not avoiding people. I think speakers, a lot of speakers avoid any sort of chat with anybody before the event, and then they relax afterwards.
I love it, Ian, because obviously, and the upshot of that is you're going to start conversations, which is what you're trying to do anyway.
Yeah, and the other thing I do is then when I have the conversations, I'll ask them about their business and their background, I'll ask them some questions about tools they use or whatever, and then what I'll do is I'll mention them during the event and say, as I was talking to John earlier on, then John wakes up and looks, you know. One final tip that really works well for me, no matter how long my talk is or how many talks I do, halfway through I always break it up somehow. So if I'm doing a 40-minute talk, I'll never talk for 40 minutes. After about 20 minutes, I'll say, now what I want you to do is introduce yourself to the person beside you and share your favorite tool. And what happens is the room erupts with noise, chat, chat, chat. People chat about everything and nothing. They're not talking about tools. They're just chatting. It relaxes me, lets me relax, get prepared for the second half, and now they're also ready to listen, take in more information, because too many tools in a row, people can go, oh, I'm overload, so taking that break really helps.
Ian, listen, I knew this would be a terrific conversation, and thank you for getting up bright and early of a nearly bank holiday in Ireland to do that.
Thank you very much. Delighted to be on the show, Eamonn. You know, and this is not early for me.
Well, it's not early for me either, but anyway, it just seems early to the rest of our families, but anyway. So thank you very much for listening in. You've been listening to Eamonn O'Brien, and this is the Reluctant Speakers Club. And if you'd like to learn more about what Ian does and about Razor Social, and indeed, Ian has got a new blogging program that you should really check out because it is stellar. And I'm not saying that just because it really is stellar. And until the next time, I hope you've enjoyed it, and happy speaking.